Even like if you see old uniforms from World War I, mothers would make their sons their uniform, and then they would take that pattern and write the letters on them. I mean, from like the sleeve, they'd send a letter. But really in 1900, paper was so expensive that they'd write a letter, switch the paper, and write page 2 right on it. My name is Laura Goldstein. I own a company called Grotta & Company, which is all hand-printed textiles on high-end fabrics. It's mainly a wholesale company, but we've done a bit more retail and over the internet as things have progressed. We start with all white fabrics here, and they're all hand-dyed and then printed on these tables that I'm sitting on. I have a graduate degree in surface design, and I'm a big collector of images. I have collected images just about my whole life. I started probably in the 60s collecting lots and lots of fashion pictures, from menus to postcards. I have files that say human parts, and files that say text, and files that say seashells, and sports, and women's sports, and men's sports, and on and on and on. There are two parts of Grotta. There's Grotta, which is wholesale and retail, and then there's Laura Goldstein, and that would be things that are more one-offs, things like the pillows worked back into drop cloths and the big pieces for walls. Let me address what the drop cloth really is. It's just a big sheet of canvas on a 16-foot table, and our silks, after they are all dry and the dye is down, are T-pinned into the table, and then we are silk screening. And what runs off the edges from the silk screen being larger than the fabric are the marks that become the drop cloths. I should say at this point that the silk screens are used merely as mark makers. They're not used because they're doing the art for us. The fun of them is that if you do something that you don't like, you just hand paint over that, because they do have all these layers to them. This is where I grow and learn as a creative person, and then at some point, when it's easily reproducible, it will be in the scarves or the pillows. Really, the art side of my business, the more creative side, is the R&D for my commercial side. I can tell you about my process, and it's almost a little bit embarrassing, but I'm sure I'm not the only one like this. I don't even know how to scan on a computer. All of my work is done at Kinko's. I use a copier and I create generations of images. When the dot pattern is broken up enough for me, I know immediately it's a gut reaction. Then I take that image and I make it to the scale that I need it to be. And I actually create my own transparency, which becomes a negative. I come back to the studio, coat our screens with liquid emulsion, and then we expose them and rinse them with water. This fabric starts out as a white silk. The more dye baths it goes through, the more saturation into the fabric. So the more dyes, the more you're getting all these subtle tone variations that you're going to see differently on every person. Then once the pigment is silk screened on, and that would be the patterns, and we take them to a commercial laundromat because that's the only place where we can get heat that's hot enough, and 50 minutes later the pigment and the silk has married.